Grey Goose was never about vodka. It was about fooling you, beautifully. In the 90s, everyone believed great vodka had to come from Russia or Poland. Something French? Ridiculous. But then a frosted glass bottle with a goose on it appeared. No distillery, no heritage, no reputation. Within 5 years, it became the most expensive vodka in America. The founder openly admitted it. "We didn't sell vodka, we sold the illusion of quality." How can something so fake become so successful? The trick they used? Most people have no idea. Is Grey Goose the smartest brand deception ever? The year is 1976. America is dancing to disco. The Cold War is humming in the background, and somewhere in New York, a liquor importer named Sidney Frank is broke. Not poor, not struggling, broke. He's pushing obscure German liqueurs nobody wants, while household names like Smirnoff and Bacardi own the market. Frank doesn't look like a disruptor. He's in his late 50s, short, balding, and still living in the shadow of past business failures. But there's something sharp behind his eyes, an instinct. He's not a distiller. He doesn't own a vineyard. What he does have is one skill. He knows how rich people think. For the next decade, Frank hustles. He imports anything he can. He studies the nightlife. He watches the margins on bar menus. And one night in the 1990s, while staring at a $15 vodka martini, it clicks. Vodka is flavorless. Vodka is cheap. And yet, it's being sold as if it were gold. That's when the question hits him. What if I created the world's first super premium vodka? And what if I made it French? It sounds insane. France has no vodka tradition, no credibility in this space. But that's exactly the point. Frank isn't selling vodka, he's selling status. And to him, perception is everything. What started as a desperate importer's survival instinct is about to become one of the boldest branding plays in spirits history. What began as a survival reflex from a failed importer would evolve into a masterstroke in brand psychology. Sidney Frank was about to do something insane, create a French vodka. No distilling experience, no heritage, just an idea. But he knew one thing for sure: if you can't sell tradition, sell the illusion. Frank doesn't hire a master distiller. He doesn't build a factory. He doesn't compete with Russia or Poland on heritage. Instead, he makes 3 radical decisions, each one defying logic. First, he chooses to make his vodka in France. Not because of the water, not because of the grain, but because of the perception. France has no vodka tradition, but it does have luxury baked into its national identity. Wine, perfume, couture, champagne. The name France on the label doesn't signal authenticity. It signals status. Second, he prices it at $30 a bottle, nearly double what premium vodkas were charging at the time. There's no blind taste test, no proof of superiority. He's not following price to match value. He's setting price to create value. It's a psychological move. If it costs more, it must be better. Third, he skips traditional advertising entirely. No glossy campaigns, no celebrity endorsements. Instead, he seeds the brand in high-end bars, exclusive lounges, and luxury restaurants. No slogans, just visibility in the right places. It's a masterclass in brand psychology. Grey Goose doesn't win on quality, it wins on what it looks like quality should be. The frosted glass, the minimalist label, the French name. Every design decision is a signal. This isn't just vodka, it's a social statement. Frank wasn't building a better vodka, he was building a better illusion. Every element, country of origin, price point, bottle design, and launch strategy was calibrated for perception, not product. And that was just the beginning. Because the real trick wasn't making people buy it once, it was making them want to be seen with it. And here's marketing lesson number 1. When you can't win on heritage, win on perception. Great branding isn't about what's in the bottle. It's about where you see it, who's holding it, and what it makes you feel. Sidney Frank understood that long before anyone put a marketing degree on it. He didn't fight for shelf space at big box stores. He went straight for bar space, but not just any bar, the right bars. The ones where celebrities drank, where investment bankers toasted deals, where velvet ropes meant you had already made it. Grey Goose launched like a luxury fashion brand. First-class airline lounges, high-end hotel bars, private members-only clubs, rooftop restaurants in Miami and Manhattan. This wasn't distribution. It was a visibility strategy. No ads, no commercials, just placement with prestige. And here's what made it genius. There was no real product edge. In blind taste tests, Grey Goose ranked 8th out of 12. But in perceived quality, it was number 1. Because consumers weren't tasting vodka, they were tasting the story. Made from French winter wheat, filtered filtered through champagne limestone, distilled once to preserve character. These weren't taste differentiators. They were narrative devices, elements designed to elevate perception, not flavor. And it worked. The packaging, the name, the placement, the story. This was the vodka you saw at after parties, in VIP booths, backstage at award shows. And once trendsetters adopted it, everyone else followed. So here's marketing lesson number 2. Sell the story, not the substance. And lesson number 3, create status through strategic scarcity and placement. Don't just be visible. Be visible where it counts. Grey Goose wasn't competing on flavor. It was dominating on feeling. Frank didn't need tradition, terroir, or taste. He needed narrative, visibility, and just enough mystery to spark desire. Because once the right people saw it, held it, and toasted with it, everyone else followed. But Frank knew perception alone wouldn't be enough. He needed something more. Something official. Something that looked like proof. Borrowed credibility. Most spirit brands build their legacy the slow way, through generations of tradition, time, and slow credibility. Sidney Frank didn't have time for that, so he took a shortcut, and it worked better than anyone expected. In 1998, just 1 year after Grey Goose launched, Frank submitted his vodka to a quiet, under-the-radar tasting competition in Chicago, the Beverage Testing Institute. No cameras, no press, just plain glasses, numbered bottles, and a panel of judges most consumers had never heard of. And yet, Grey Goose won. The best tasting vodka in the world. That single line became the brand's nuclear trigger. It didn't matter that vodka is virtually flavorless, or that in blind taste tests, most people couldn't even tell Grey Goose apart from Smirnoff. What mattered was that someone official said it was the best. That was all Frank needed. Suddenly, every bottle carried the claim. Menus flaunted it. Bartenders repeated it. Cocktail lists printed it like gospel. One sentence turned into global validation. Once that award hit print, the perception snapped into place. Grey Goose wasn't just premium. It was certified elite. But Frank didn't stop there. He understood something most brands miss. Validation only matters if you amplify it. And he did, ruthlessly. Within 5 years, over 1.5 million cases sold annually, twice the price of other vodkas, 80% profit margins compared to the industry's 30%, and name-dropped in over 300 hip-hop tracks by Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Kanye, 50 Cent. You didn't order Grey Goose because it tasted better. You ordered it because it sounded better. Because someone with a clipboard and a scoring sheet once called it the best. And that's the brilliance of it all. Frank couldn't manufacture history, so he manufactured prestige. He spun one obscure award into a narrative of legacy. He flooded elite spaces with the bottle. He watched as the culture, music, nightlife, luxury picked it up and carried it for him. It all started with borrowed credibility. Marketing lesson number 4. Third-party validation creates instant heritage. You don't need an old distillery in the Polish countryside. You just need the right quote, the right room, and the guts to sell the illusion. Frank didn't chase prestige. He engineered a world where prestige came to him. And once it did, Grey Goose wasn't just a brand. It was a status symbol locked, loaded, and ready to detonate. The Goose Effect. By the early 2000s, something strange started happening. Grey Goose was showing up everywhere. But not through ads, no commercials, no slogans, no celebrity endorsement deals, just presence. Loud, undeniable presence. You'd hear it in clubs, you'd spot it on tables in music videos, and you'd catch it in lyrics. Hundreds of lyrics. By 2005, Grey Goose had been name-dropped in over 300 hip-hop songs. Jay-Z, Kanye, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent. Artists weren't being paid to say it. They said it because it meant something, because it represented what they represented, a rival. Grey Goose wasn't vodka anymore. It was culture. Holding a bottle signaled you'd made it. Ordering it in public said, "I belong here." It was luxury, distilled, not just in glass, but in identity. The bottle became a prop in the modern success story. It wasn't just sitting in the background, it was performing. In music videos, in club photos, in the hands of people everyone wanted to be. And here's what made it unstoppable. This kind of exposure couldn't be bought. It had to be earned, not through taste, but through timing, placement, and psychology. While other brands were throwing millions at TV spots, Grey Goose slid into the bloodstream of pop culture. It became the go-to bottle for VIPs, the backdrop to success, the unspoken badge of high status. It wasn't pushed onto consumers. It was pulled in by desire. And that's the paradox. Frank didn't chase celebrity. He engineered scarcity, and celebrities chased him. No PR firm could have orchestrated it better, because once Grey Goose appeared in elite spaces, it triggered the most powerful force in marketing: social mimicry. The moment trendsetters started holding it, everyone else followed. They weren't promoting vodka. They were reinforcing their image with the perfect prop. It was no longer about the liquid. It was about the signal. True luxury doesn't chase attention. It attracts it. Frank didn't build demand through billboards. He built desire through scarcity, image, and impeccable placement. He understood that real luxury is not defined by what's sold, but by who chooses to be seen with it. And this was the point of no return, the moment Grey Goose transitioned from brand to phenomenon. And that brings us to marketing lesson number 5. True luxury brands are adopted, not advertised. When your product becomes part of someone's identity, when it becomes the thing people use to say who they are, you've crossed into a different kind of marketing. You're no longer selling something, you're being something. Grey Goose didn't rise through innovation. It rose through implication. No ads, no campaigns, just perfectly placed desire. It became the drink you didn't have to explain, because the world had already decided what it meant. And that meaning wasn't built on tradition, taste, or truth. It was built on something far more powerful: a beautiful, strategic lie. Grey Goose didn't win because it tasted better. It won because it looked like it should. It had no distilling tradition, no legacy, no secret recipe passed down from a dusty French chateau. What it had was perception, carefully designed, strategically placed, and flawlessly executed. And that's what makes Grey Goose one of the most brilliant marketing plays of the last century. It wasn't just a success story, it was a perception hack. While other brands chased product innovation, Frank focused on something far more powerful: status psychology. So let's break it down. The 5 marketing lessons behind Grey Goose's billion-dollar illusion. At number 1, create perception gaps, not product advantages. Vodka is one of the least differentiated spirits on the market. Grey Goose didn't win because of what was in the bottle, but because of what people believed was in it. Perception beats product. Number 2, use price as a signal, not a reward. Most brands raise prices after they've proven their value. Grey Goose did the opposite. It launched expensive and used price to create an aura of exclusivity. Price isn't just a number, it's positioning. At number 3, craft an origin story that feels bigger than the product. By making it French, Frank linked the brand to luxury without needing heritage. The story of wheat, limestone, and single distillation was more theater than science, but it worked. Stories sell, even when they're designed. At number 4, prioritize scarcity over reach. Grey Goose didn't try to be everywhere. It focused on being in the right places. Lounges, clubs, first-class cabins. Luxury isn't about being seen by everyone. It's about being seen by the right people. Distribution is branding. And finally, at number 5, borrow credibility until you own it. No legacy? No problem. Frank used a single award and hundreds of organic celebrity mentions to craft instant authority. Validation doesn't have to be old, it just has to be trusted. In the end, Grey Goose didn't sell vodka. It sold a feeling, a status, an identity. It showed that in the right hands, marketing can outperform manufacturing. That storytelling can outshine substance. And that if you understand how people want to feel, you never have to explain what's in the bottle. So next time you see that frosted glass on a backlit shelf, remember, you're not just looking at a drink, you're looking at one of the greatest perception campaigns ever built. Grey Goose didn't rewrite the rules of vodka. It rewrote the rules of belief. It proved that in branding, the truth doesn't have to taste better, it just has to feel better. And that perception isn't a side effect of marketing, it is the product. So the next time you're building a brand or reaching for a bottle, ask yourself, are you selling what's inside? Or what people want to believe is inside? Because in the end, perception always beats product. If you found this breakdown valuable, hit that like button, subscribe to Secret Behind the Brand, and let me know in the comments. Which brand should we dissect next? Until then, remember, great marketing doesn't just sell things, it shapes how we see the world.